Hello, and this is a final and video, and this is a class involvement, and assignment. So I will let you know, and after recording, I will delete this interview. It will not be public, just only my teacher can see.
Okay.
So you understand this confidentiality.
Yes.
So and what's your name and you are, and position?
My name is Yua Lore, and I work with Metro Social Services. I am the clinic manager, and I work with directly with a Southeast Asian population.
Okay. So yeah, because you're working for a special population, Southeast Asian. So can you give me an how you actually and make referral, how you get referral, how you make appointment, and those kind of thing.
hmm So with our agency specifically, it's different from other agencies in that the majority of our clients are self-referred.
Yeah.
They're coming through word of mouth through the community about how we are working with them.
Okay.
But typically, it would come through like a case manager
Uh,
or a social service with the county that would make the referral to us.
uh,
Um, and then your question was, how do I make appointments, right?
yeah.
Okay, so um, when we get referrals, typically we will look at how old the person is,
Mm,
what clan they're in. So we look at whether or not there's a possibility that there's a relation between myself or one of my other workers and the client.
uh,
And then we look at whether or not we need to set up interpretation services for the initial contact.
okay. So do you use interpreters more? And
Well, most of the time we don't because we usually will have a staff that's already speaking the language.
okay.
But if, let's say, for example, if they're requiring a psych assessment, well, our assessor here does not speak
Uh,
the typical Southeast Asian languages. So we do then set up an interpreter. So
okay.
usually it would be either the staff that will be assigned, or we do contract with an interpretation agency,
Okay.
and they will be the ones that will be called to attend the meeting.
Okay. So so East Asian clients, did they understand, the mental health system, how they work, informed consent, and how confidentiality work, do they understand or
Well, I feel like that's a two-part question.
yeah.
Mental health in itself is has a negative connotation.
Uh,
There's no word for mental health. There's typically when people are struggling in their life, it's considered crazy, and
yeah.
so there's always a negative connotation with that.
Yeah.
So that I think that's your first part,
Yeah.
and then the second component with confidentiality. It's very important that we talk about that with our clients because most of our clients are from a community where word of mouth and storytelling and
Mm,
sharing of stories is a very important part of the culture.
mm,
So talking to them about confidentiality and convincing them that we as professional will not be sharing their story with other
yeah.
people can be complicated,
Mm,
but I tend to then work with my clients on understanding that what my role is
yeah.
and how my relationship with the client is going to be.
Okay. Yeah. So so what do you see resistant? Like so this Asian client, they're resistant. How you break down their resistance and convince that they
Yeah,
need service.
yeah. So with the specific services that they are being referred to, we don't explain it in terms of mental health.
Uh,
So we talk about how their symptoms are getting in the way of their lives,
uh,
and most of the time clients come in saying, I'm so stressed,
uh,
I need help, and then really taking what they use to
Mm.
explain their situation and applying that to the different services that we have and explaining how we would be able to help them with that specific symptom that they are presenting with
Yeah.
seems to help a lot with the resistance.
So you and how you gonna assign if they diagnosis and if they resist?
Well, so the resistance is more labeling. So
Mm.
there's a resistance to the labeling of mental illness, mental
Yeah.
health, and even the type of services that they are receiving. So what we do is when we are translating it into whatever language that the client is in, we don't use that specific language. So we might talk about instead of mental illness, we might talk about discomfort or struggles or stress. Is a direct translation fits really well. The kind of stress that you have that interrupts your life. The kind of stress that you have that prevents you from being able to have the healthy lifestyle that you want to have.
Yeah.
So explaining it in a way where it does not have a stigma helps. And then when we are doing the diagnosis, it is a direct diagnosis from the DSM. So
Yeah.
collecting all the data and doing the diagnosis, and that's
Yeah.
what they have. And so what we do with that is we take it and we say, this is what you have because you reported these symptoms to me.
Okay.
This is what it fits, and this just means this. And so we'll take the diagnosis. So, for example, like major depression,
Yeah.
and we'll explain to them this is what major depression is. These are the symptoms that you told me that is the reason why you fit into this diagnosis. But we don't say this disorder or so we leave those kind of details out.
Yeah, it's kind of like, but kind of tough, when you know the client, should acknowledge, his diagnosis, say, major depression,
Mm-hmm.
but if if the client don't agree, how you gonna be treatment and I mean treatment plan involved, how the client is gonna get better if he's not actually accepted his diagnosis.
Yeah. Well, so like I said, so we don't explain the diagnosis to our clients in a way that it's a disorder. We explain it to them as in a confirmation of their struggles.
Okay.
So you have major depression because
Yeah.
you reported to me that you feel sad and you have no motivation.
Yeah, all symptoms there.
Yep. So we list all the symptoms, and
Yeah.
then because they've already subscribed to the symptoms,
Yeah.
because that's what they're reporting to us, then we just put them into a category of, okay, so this is what it is, and this
Yeah.
is what typically happens.
Yeah.
This is what this looks like, and so then at that point they are agreeing with that diagnosis without actually agreeing with the idea that they have a mental illness. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Yeah, it's a little bit challenging, and because the treatment, if the client don't agree, and maybe treatment might be resistant also treatment to say what how you talk to me, I don't have this problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of the resistance comes from the titles
Yeah.
that people are given, and so we don't give them those titles. So we don't say you are mentally ill,
Yeah.
or a dark translation would be you're crazy.
You're crazy. Yeah.
We talk to them about the individual symptoms. So you are stressed, you feel sad.
Yeah.
You are easily irritated.
Okay.
And so we break it down more, and so that it doesn't feel like there's something wrong with them. It just feels like this is what I'm struggling with, and you're going to help me overcome that.
So you need to know, you have to have a skill to actually navigate,
Yeah, you have
this
to,
kind of population.
Yeah, so you have to, with each culture, understand kind of how their understanding of their language is,
Yeah.
and not just their culture,
Yeah.
but their language and how it's used, how it's applied, and then you also have to take into consideration acculturation. So have they been in America for a long time? Have they not? How well do they understand, and have they been exposed to the mental health field, not even just mental health, but social work field,
Yeah.
because that makes a big difference as well, to whether or not they're open to services, and whether or not they're willing to have outside people come in,
Yeah.
to provide these services.
Yeah, I think it's a lot. Yeah. It's kind of, population in Southeast Asia and all other immigrant population are challenging. Working with mental.
It is.
Yeah, it's very challenging. So I think it's good to thanks for you sharing me. To know me about how to deal this actually client population for. Thank you. So I think
Thank you.
yeah, thanks.